name's Will Jeffries, and I'm from Sydney University, and I'd just like to thank Professor Flynn and the rest of the team for giving us some guidance. It's much needed, as I'm sure a young colleague over there will learn in a few years. But Mr. Copley just stole my question, as a matter of fact. I have to ask, is investing in our education system worth doing at all?
No.
Because Mr. Windshuttle, I was in year 12 in an extension history class, and that's all supposed to be about, historiography. Now, I put forward my thesis that was essentially supporting your thesis of the pervasiveness of postmodernism in history these days in your Killing of History book, 1998. And I was told that, no, you can't do that. That's not applicable. You have to, put forward essentially both sides. And I said, well, I'm not going to sell out, so I'm not going to do that. I did it on post-truth. Nevertheless, the YouTube channel is where I got all my information from. If it wasn't for YouTube, I was politically indoctrinated at school. I was a communist by the age of 15, and then YouTube came along, and it changed absolutely. It changed absolutely everything. But more specifically, filming something like this and putting it straight on YouTube. More specifically, putting something like this just straight onto YouTube will not work. It has to be episodical. It has to be up to date. It has to be almost every day. It has to be old people and young people speaking. That gives the human connection, as Ricardo said before. So ultimately, if we want to push this movement forward and infiltrate the social groups and networks of people like me, you're far better off investing in YouTube than even touching the education system. Because I was very lucky enough to go to a very nice school. I can tell you now, it's just as corrupt there as it is everywhere else. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very, very sympathetic, responsive to Will's thesis. In part, I produced 6 children. It's basically the only thing I'm good at. But I'm watching the intellectual and cultural bullying and abuse of each of them, and it's kind of like a war in the jungle, a mental survival path, like a medieval ordeal, sending your child even to so-called elite private schools. I mean, the humanities departments, the English faculties are so militantly feminist that basically the teachers regard their jobs as disabusing these privileged boys of their sense of confidence in the world. And every day they walk into a war. And the so-called, the church influences in these schools, it's just bogus. You've got Skeggs, allegedly, the great Anglican school in Sydney, running a rainbow float on Diversity Day, as the final message of the Year 12 students to the rest, to the rest of the students. There is this unwillingness to tackle text, to tackle the English language, to introduce students with a sense of wonder to the great, literary minds, and this intense attraction to dogmatic, boring shortcuts. I think there should be a national Senate inquiry into the boredom faced by students in Australian schools from militant left ideologues.